To have you. We love the energy. Thank you for a very successful year. Everyone in this room contributes to the success of PBGH. We just had an annual meeting and was able to share some of those successes with our members, and want to publicly appreciate everyone in this room for your contributions and for attending our meetings and for being a voice for our community. So our agenda today is quite packed, very robust, and I'm very excited about the three speakers we have with us today. We have three featured speakers, and we'll kick off today with Rick Chelko, and he's the president and founder of Chelko Consulting Group, whose talk is Playing It Safe, Really Safer. Focuses on the current state of affairs in healthcare and healthcare benefits alongside challenging plan managers to support more disruptive yet constructive approaches to managing the primary cost drivers within their plans. We also will have Shane Wolverton, and if you've been a friend of PBGH for years now, you would have seen or heard from Shane in the past. So Shane will be up next after Rick, and he will focus on Quantros's efforts around physician data and how employers can tap that data effectively. Then we'll hear from David Schwartz, head of global policy with Cigna. He will lead a discussion around the post-election landscape and what to expect in 2017, given the fact that the Affordable Care Act was one of the top issues during this year's election, and particularly as it relates to compliance for employers and what to expect next from our nation's leaders. This is going to be a very popular session, and I hope that all of you stay until the end. For those of you who are used to staying until the end, you know we always have end with a bang or have a dynamic topic. So please expect to be engaged throughout the entire morning. Before we dive in, though, I'd like to ask Tom Chamberlain. He's the CEO of EdLogix, one of our newer members and partners and sponsors of the organization. They are our platinum sponsors for today's event, and Tom will come up to make an announcement.
Thank you, Jessica, and we're pleased to be here today and to be a platinum sponsor of the Pittsburgh Business Group on Health. EdLogix is a consumer-based education engagement company. We provide innovative educational solutions and health management programs to employers and health plans, and we do that through innovative multimedia educational programs, innovative game-based learning, gamification strategies, and creative use of rewards and incentives. Our mission is to transform the way consumers learn about health by making it fun and engaging. And we believe that an educated employee and dependent, the dependents are equally valuable to you as employers to make better healthcare decisions and empower them to be more responsible for managing their health. So that's our mission, is to give people the education that they need to get more engaged. And we are able to, through education, drive people to participate in other health management programs, whether it be filling out an HRA, participating in biometric screenings, participating in telehealth programs, or other types of health management programs. And we do that by engaging those consumers and allowing them to participate and be more informed and better decision makers. Most of you know that we have a strategic alliance with the Pittsburgh Business Group on Health, where we're making this platform available to PBGH members at a discount. And if you'd like to learn more about that, we're exhibiting here today. We recently provided a customized demo site to PBGH and its members, and most of you received an invitation to sign up for the EdLogix platform so you could experience it yourself, really understand how we're engaging users. And we also invited you to invite 10 of your key employees to participate. And in that invitation, we also said there will be one lucky winner of a $250 prize. The top 10 people on the leaderboard would be included in a hat, and we're going to make a drawing at this morning's program. And I'd like to have Jessica come back up here and select the lucky winner for $250 that came off the top 10 individuals on the leaderboard of the PBGH demo site. Jessica? Right. We got a little Pittsburgh Steeler hat here.
Yeah,
So the winner is Cindy Van Horn. And I don't know if Cindy Van Horn is here today. She may be an employee and not participating, But Cindy Van Horn is going to be the winner of the $250 prize. So the individual that is the employer of Cindy Van Horn, please see us at the EdLogix booth, and we'll coordinate and arrange to have payments. Thank you, Jessica. I'd also like to make an announcement that we're continuing the demo site for the rest of the month of December, and we have another drawing at the end of December, on December 30th. So I'd encourage you, if you haven't signed up, to sign up and experience how learning about health can be fun and engaging, and invite up to 10 members of your company to experience that and give you feedback. We think that an empowered consumer is going to be critical to managing the out-of-control healthcare cost and unnecessary resource utilization. So I encourage you to sign up, and we'll run that through the end of the month, and have another drawing that will be randomly selected from the leaderboard on December 30th. And now I'd like to go ahead and introduce our first speaker for the conference. Jessica introduced the bio of Rick Chelko. Rick Chelko is the founder and president of Chelko Consulting Group, and he's going to be talking about, is playing it safe really safer? Rick?
Geez, I didn't know I get my own music. Have you ever answered the question of what song would you play if you were a professional baseball player and going up to plate, what would be your song? It'd be a tough one for me to answer. But can everybody hear me okay? All right, great. Thank you. And I appreciate you inviting me to join you this morning. I'll just check, see if we can get to the first slide. Am I advancing the right deck? Okay, there we go. Great. All right. Thank you. Well, good morning. I appreciate you inviting me back to speak with you one more time, and hopefully you'll find this to be time well spent. I'm going to spend a little time setting the stage at the beginning, and then share with you some ideas that I think are practical approaches for dealing with the challenges that we all face. And I need to start off at the beginning here and just say that I've got a couple quirks. One of the quirks is that I'm always thinking of the future. I can't turn my mind off. I'm always thinking about where are we going, what's next, how can we do this better, always trying to come up with a plan for the future. Planning is good, but you have to be adaptable too. And one of the real things that I think is crucial is that we are able to pay attention to the changes that are going on and adapt to those changes and adapt to the reality that's in front of us. Not adapt to what we'd like it to be, but to adapt to the reality of what's facing us. And it's also important to observe that we've got to be looking not just at the day-to-day trends or the month trends or the hot solution of the year, but we need to be looking at the long horizon. Because it is easy to get caught in what's the issue of the year, the hot thing of the year, and to really miss the macro trends. And one of the things that has amazed me as I think through my long career is how often we have this kind of like, well, haven't we been here before kind of a situation. And you think of like preferred provider organizations. What's one of the newer trends these days, which is narrow networks. Well, geez, isn't that just preferred provider organizations the second time around? Well, if it is, why did it not work the first time? Is what we've got to think about. And anybody have an idea on that? Why did preferred providers not achieve what we expected it to achieve when we first started doing that 30 years ago? Come on, somebody's got to have an idea. Yes?
Because of the immense discrepancy in pricing and charges that were not transparent.
Okay. So you got a lack of transparency, sir?
In this area, there really wasn't any narrowing network. It was all the same network. Every provider's in the network.
Right. So there's nothing preferred about the preferred provider networks anymore, is there? The access, I remember when these first came out, there were big challenges. There were some networks out there that were working with less than 50% of the providers, but what really happened was employers drove the networks to expand. And the broader the network, the more success it had. What's one of the common things we do in evaluating networks? Disruption analysis. We look at disruption analysis and discounts, and if you've got more disruption, that's a bad thing. The wider the network, the more success it's going to have. And if what we do is we reward covering everybody, we just build up an extra layer of cost and complexity and lack of transparency, as the one woman mentioned, that creates further problems. So if we go about this the second time around, we need to go about it differently than the way we did it before. How about prescription drug cards? I don't know if anybody remembers being around when prescription drug cards first came out. Boy, did they get costly quickly. And employers realized this wasn't a good idea. We can't afford these prescription drug cards. We're going to go back to major medical plans and apply deductibles and coinsurance. And where are we today? Prescription drugs is one of the fastest rising portions of our plans these days. And what is it that we didn't do last time that we should probably do this time so that we have a different outcome? Same kind of thing with defined contributions. Defined contributions were the rage of those that were talking about private exchange solutions a couple years ago. Well, private defined contribution strategies had been introduced in the marketplace when cafeteria plans were introduced, again, 30 years ago. And they never went anywhere because employers quickly realized that if they tried to stick to that, they would have non-competitive plans. Their plans would become much too costly, and people would say, you're providing lousy coverage. So you got to look at these things, you got to look in the long trends, and you can't just get caught stuck in the forest. And one of the big issues that I think is sitting out there for us today, one of the most significant issues that I think is causing plan managers to pause, is this whole notion of, I can't get between my physician and my plan member. I can't disrupt that relationship. That's kind of like safe ground that I'm not allowed to be. And I get that concern. The reality is, though, that pharma has jumped in there in a huge way. Pharma has decided that it's not up to the physician to decide what prescription the individual should get or what illness they have. They need to go direct to consumers with advertising and direct in a big way. Pharmacy advertising has grown 30% in the last 2 years. It's mammoth. The heavily advertised drugs are being prescribed at 9 times the rate of the ones that aren't being advertised. The advertising works. So as plan managers sit back and say, I'm going to just kind of hold off and let the physician and the patient decide what's the right course of treatment, your plan members are being bombarded with advertising that is telling them, you may think you're okay, but you're really not. You ought to go get tested. You can do better than that. We've got something that can improve your health, make you feel better, what have you. Go talk to your doctor about it. And it is, if you stop back and just, even count, especially if you're watching the news, count how many pharmacy commercials there are compared to other commercials. It is astounding. And the reason is because it works. And I don't think we can stand back to just kind of leave our corporate checkbooks open and let this happen. Stand on the sidelines and say, okay, we'll pay whatever comes our way, and let the pharmaceutical industry just advertise the heck out of our plan members. So you may think that your PBM has your back on this. That's what we've hired them to do. We've hired them to help make sure that only the people who need the drugs are getting the drugs, and they're getting the best ones, and so forth. And unfortunately, what is happening when you really dig deep into this is that the PBMs are letting the manufacturers cover the cost share for the plan member, patient assistance programs, manufacturer assistance programs, whatever you want to call them. They're swiping funds, taking them from the manufacturer so the plan member gets the drugs for free, and then they're pocketing big rebates on the back end. And it's just the kind of situation where advertiser says, you need this, person goes in, they get it for free, you're paying a ton. I'll give you one of the most recent examples of this. There's a drug that was just FDA approved, Exondys 51, and it's for Duchenne's muscular dystrophy, which is a terrible disease. I mean, it's really it's a nasty situation that affects boys. The problem is that there wasn't evidence to support the medication getting approved. The panel rejected it. I think it rejected it like 7-4, and the FDA commissioner overruled it and said, nah, we're going to put this out there anyhow because we think it's going to work sometime. So now you've got the drug out there. The drug costs $300,000, okay, per year. The rumor is that the rebate will be $100,000 a year, okay? So you think you're negotiating better deals with your PBM? You know, the rebates are just screaming into the PBM's hands. If you're not getting 100% of every pocketed dollar, you know, that's coming across from the manufacturer, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. But the other thing is that the manufacturer is putting together their patient assistance program right now to make it free for the plan members. It is a situation where, again, you're getting caught with your checkbook open, and it's a drug that has not been proven to add value. I think 13 people were in the trial, and it was reported improvements in performance. No objective data, no blind trials, nothing like that. So I think Anthem, you know, I give my hat off to Anthem, has decided, compared to the other three, they've decided that they are not going to cover this until the evidence supports it. But you've got to pay attention as plan managers, because this is just one example. There's a ton of these examples. I could spend all morning giving them to you. And you know, one of the crazy things is that the United States and New Zealand are the only two countries in the world that allow this type of advertising by the pharmaceutical manufacturers. You know, you may think it's normal. You know, we're used to watching these advertisements. We're used to a free market. The problem is a free market with a third-party payment system is really a problem. I mean, that's an affordability issue because, you know, if you're telling people they need things and somebody else is paying for it, that drives a ton of demand with no limit in supply. And unless you limit supply, you're going to run out of money. And that's the scenario that we're in. I think the return on investment for the pharmaceutical industry right now in advertising is 4-to-1, was the study I saw. So, you know, they think back to what I said. They spent 30% more in the last 2 years. So that's about $1 billion that they spent. That means your plan spent about $4 billion. It's just maddening. And I think you've got to take action. You can't just sit in the sidelines. And the problem, you know, another problem here is that the rest of the healthcare industry is figuring out that this advertising works. You know, there is phenomenal brand building. You know about that in this town. Healthcare has become one of the biggest brands that's marketed. I think P&G used to be a brand leader. Now it's, you know, the Cleveland Clinic or UPMC or Johns Hopkins or some of the other brands have become the national brand leaders because brands matter. The one study I saw, I think, said if you're a top 10 U.S. News and World Report hospital, you can raise your fees by 14%. Now, 14% is huge when the hospital margins are generally around 1 to 3%. I don't know if anybody's traveled out of the U.S. lately, but this just doesn't happen outside the U.S. like it does here. Healthcare is just like out of sight, out of mind in Europe. You don't even know that there's hospitals around until you kind of fall upon them. You don't see all the advertising. But you know what? They live longer. You know, it's not an issue where we've got this shortage of access or knowledge. I think we've got too much coming at us. And I think it's the kind of thing where, you know, we've got so much coming at us that it's almost the equivalent to the social media blow up at a college of, hey, this fraternity's having a keg party, free beer, go there. Or maybe the worst case is even the high school scenario where, hey, so-and-so's parents aren't home, we're having a party, and everybody show up. You know, nobody's minding the house. Nobody is paying enough attention to prevent these things from happening. And that's what's facing us. We are paying for it. I'm gonna even show you a little bit of a, we'll see if I can. You may need to hit the video for me.
For millions of baby boomers, there's a virus out there. A virus that's serious like HIV, but it hasn't been talked about much. A virus that's been almost forgotten. It's hepatitis C. 1 in 30 boomers has hep C, yet most don't even know it. That's because hep C can hide in your body silently for years, even decades, without symptoms. And it's not tested for in routine blood work. If left untreated, hep C can cause liver damage, even liver cancer. But there's important information for us. The CDC recommends all baby boomers get tested for hep C. All it takes is a simple one-time blood test. And if you have hep C, it can be cured. Be sure to ask your doctor to get tested for hep C. For us, it's time to get tested. It's the only way to know for sure.
So my guess is many of you have already spent a lot of money on hep C. You know, the people that were really sick kind of jumped on this drug because this drug works and this is a serious condition. So people jumped on it quickly and the trend line has slowed up. So now the advertising has picked up to say, well, our second level strategy is to tell everybody else they need to be tested, and we're going to find more people and be able to provide medication to more individuals. And you know, in some respects, there's some benefits that are going to come out of that. But the way that would be approached if it was your money and the potential that you'd be paying $85,000 for a course of treatment, and the way it happens in our marketplace is really very different. You know, you've got a situation where many people that have hep C, if you tested for the virus, there would be evidence of the virus, but there would be no evidence of the disease. And I think the number's more like 1 out of 4. You know, you can find evidence that they had it, but it's never had any impact on them. Many, it's not really having, it hasn't started to become active and drive in their bodies and start impacting their livers. 3/4 of those who do have it also have genotype 1. So if you even go to the manufacturer's site, the recommended course of treatment for genotype 1 is an 8-week course of therapy. I challenge you all to look at your data and see if any plan members under your plan received 8-week courses of therapy. I haven't found one yet. They've all been 12 weeks. 12 weeks, why? Because nobody's forcing them to stay with what the manufacturer had recommended in the first place. The rebates are huge. You know, generally the rebate on that drug is going to be $40,000 or so. And the question, you know, when we buy our PBM services by looking at who's got the best rebate and who's got the best discount, that's the behavior we reward. We pick the PBM that's going to take the highest rebatable drug because we assume everybody's starting at the same cost level when we do that typical analysis. So you reward the rebate strategy, and that's what's driving a lot of costs. You know, there's another, Merck put out a drug that's, I think more like $40,000 without a rebate. You know, most plans aren't covering it, at least not at the same tier as the $85,000 one. And I would venture to say nobody's taken advantage of Health City Cayman Islands. I understand they came up and shared with you some of their story before. They've got the genotype 1 8-week therapy for $20,000. You know, why not send somebody on 2 quick trips to the Cayman Islands and spend $20,000? If I was paying for it out of my own pocket and I really needed it, that's what I'd be doing. I'd love that 2 trips to save the money. But because somebody else is paying for it, we're just letting it happen. The checkbook's open. And I think we can't do that forever. So, you know, you might be content and sitting on the sidelines, but I think the plan members are responding. The plan members are acting upon the advertising. They're moving quickly. They're doing the things even that a lot of you are asking them to do. They're getting their annual checkups. They're doing their biometric screening. They're going out and getting tested. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that testing asymptomatic individuals on an annual basis is harmful. So a lot of what we're telling them is not in their best interest even. So we've got to be careful what we're telling them. We've got to be careful to counter what others are telling them. And I even came across something where somebody was advertising, was marketing to employers a strategy that said, it's the I feel good disease. The worst thing there is that people are feeling good and they don't know that they've got some issue, and all we have to do is test them and we can tell them they've got something wrong with them and we can treat them. And you know, finding things wrong with people and treating them seems to be a good thing, but not if they feel good and it's really not impacting their health. You know, it's most doctors can find something wrong with somebody. So we've got all this direct-to-consumer advertising and third-party payment system, which is a very difficult match, and we've got no brakes on the system. And that's our problem, and that's where we're in this unsafe condition, I believe, and we need to apply the brakes to be able to make things safer for our plan members. And you know, you may believe that hanging back on the sidelines and not getting in the way of the employee and physician relationship is the safest place to be, but I don't think it's safest in the long run. I don't think it's safest for your plan members at all. You know, just because others aren't doing anything about it doesn't mean I shouldn't do something about it. You know, I think there tend to be, I come across two different types of buyers. You know, one that when we talk about managing something, they say, well, who else is doing this and how many are doing it and all that, what are their results? And then I come across others that are saying, wow, you're right, that's a problem, what can we do about it? Let's take action. And they do what's practical, what makes sense. And that doesn't mean you're not doing a little due diligence in the course of that and testing other theories and so forth, but they're people of action. I actually had 2 discussions in the last 24 hours which surprised me. People that came to me as I was talking to them about coming and do this speech that actually said, you know, this issue of how we're managing health plans today might even rise to a fiduciary issue. We've got these assets here, which are plan assets, and to what degree are we as the people responsible for those assets really managing them in a prudent fashion versus allowing things to occur that are basically wasting assets or being harmful for the plan members. That's a high challenge. But it's also an interesting question to stop and reflect on that. So what are some of the simple things you can do about it? You know, I don't want to just come here and give everybody a hard time for not managing the plans as aggressively as they can. You know, I understand the realities of the marketplace and how difficult this is, and how difficult your jobs are. But I believe there are things that you can do, actions you can take that really can make a difference in the benefit of your plan members and for your company. And it's not just about saving money. I really want to come down to that. If you care about the health of your people, which I'm assuming you all do, there are things you can do to improve their health. and steps you can take along the way. So, the first thing is this little bit of we've got to rise up and revolt kind of thing. This may actually be the most difficult, but I am going to get out of the way. I mean, you've got direct-to-consumer advertising pushing, and you've got nobody with a counter push. We're one of only 2 countries that are doing this. Are we doing anything to, come together, strengthen numbers, be it PBGH or the National Business Group on Health or American Benefits Council or anyone, where we're gathering together and we're saying we've got to slow this down, we've got to start putting some controls and taking a different approach on it. I think it's a hard uphill climb, but I think if you look at it from a national perspective, Congress is hearing from pharma, they're not hearing from employers on this subject, and there's got to be a counter voice at that level. And another consideration is to just pool your resources even more locally, to put a counter beat out there into the marketplace with community advertising. Billboards are available for you too, and maybe going to the emergency room in 4 minutes isn't the best thing for your plan members to do. Maybe you need to slow that process down. So, I suggest that you try to break the monotony, get your employees engaged here. You can do it on your own, even if you don't do it in consortium with the rest of the coalition members, but you can do it on your own. Maybe you can do your own things, such as an I'm okay campaign. If people are feeling okay, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with supporting people that they're okay and contributing to their good health and what you do, as opposed to trying to push people to go see somebody and find out what's wrong with them. Marketing works. We have seen it work. We've seen it work significantly, and sometimes it's even simple things that you can do. One of my favorites is even the bathroom stall posters. It's a very simple and inexpensive way of advertising, but people read them, people notice it. That's why bars do it. It's an effective way of communicating and letting people know about things. It doesn't take tons of money to do this. Most people have monitors set up, and you can use monitors to circulate those messages among your plan members too. But you've got to give them a constant beat. We've got something actually in our firm where we don't do a firm meeting without sharing something which is a wellness topic at the end of the meeting. It's just the way we live. It's part of our business. Somebody brings a topic together and we share it every time. So that's kind of our cadence. The next thing I would suggest you do is to really look at your data. Figure out where you're spending your money. I see a lot of people that are spending, their plan management initiatives are on the things that aren't driving their costs. And we'll get back to that in a few minutes. But don't chase the pennies, chase the dollars. Find out where the dollars are. And most of our clients use a balanced scorecard type approach to this. So we grab the key financial and non-financial metrics that measure or that matter. We put those on one page. We track them monthly, and that way our clients know what the pulse of the plan is, how it's performing compared to last year, how it's performing compared to budget, what are the hot spots, what seems to be contributing to those hot spots. And I think if you don't have a tool like that, you should either develop one, see me, whatever. But I think it's a starting point for really understanding what's driving your costs and where should you be focusing your management attention. And it's exactly the opposite of what oftentimes is happening. There's not a lack of data. There's water everywhere, but not a drink to spare. We've just got too much data coming at us lots of times. We get flooded with the reports from the health plans or from the PBMs. These things, the data is distributed across in those things in such a manner that oftentimes it just intentionally obfuscates things. So you really don't understand how is our network performing. We can't tell really what billed charges are, what ineligible charges are. what discounts are, what allowable is, what then deductibles and co-pays. They take different lines out, they put them on different sheets, and it's tough to really understand how the plan is working. And are they taking the blind networks and sweeping that into the discounts? Or are they sweeping it into the network usage to kind of inflate the numbers? There's all kinds of things that happen in these reports where you just kind of look at it and you really don't know what's going on. You just say, yeah, I got a lot of data. I get this 20-page report every day. But it just really isn't telling me anything. And oftentimes it's not adjusted for important things like claim lag. I sat in a meeting one time, just blew my mind. This was an employer that saw $10 billion in sales, good-sized company with national account rep. And they're doing their first report, and they're showing that the employer's cost went down, which was a phenomenal result in their mind, and that it compared to their benchmark trend level of 25%. I'm like, well, our cost went down because we've got like 10 months of data in here instead of 12 months of data. Did you adjust for that? No, we didn't adjust for that. And the 25% trend, I mean, really, is that your book of business? Yeah, that's our book of business. I said, well, everybody else in the country is at 7%. Why are you guys at 25%? We go with the wrong vendor? And she's defending this number, and it's just like, come on. We've got to recognize that a lot of the stuff we're getting is not good data. We're getting lots of numbers, but we're not getting the right numbers, and you need reliable things to be able to stay abreast of. And I think this has kind of gone on from not just the networks to case management programs. Case management programs are sold generally aggressively at the front end. You try to get data on them. It's one of the hardest things to do. Trying to get good data on the wellness results are really tough. It just kind of goes on and on. And the other thing, speaking about those types of things, I would suggest you trim back the waste. I would suggest that you look at what you're spending on some of these programs, see what your results are associated with them, and I would imagine you're not getting much money for what you're spending on things like case management or traditional wellness services, biometric screenings, things like that. You are probably not getting any value for it. And I'll tell you, we tracked the data on the biometric screenings. We had a very aggressive client that was at this for 7 years. They had 90% usage. And we looked at, well, why are we doing this? We're doing it to hopefully avoid these problem claims in the future. Well, let's see how those claims have tracked too. So we looked at emergency room visits for heart attacks and strokes and asthma and diabetes, and we looked for admissions on those things. And they did not show us any positive trend line, and certainly nothing any better than what the national trends were. And the employer said, our people are just so frustrated. This is a complicated program to administer. We're spending a lot of money on it. We're trying to incent them $500. Some people are incenting, over $1,000 a year for people to do these things. If it's really not making a difference, why are we doing it? Let's take the money out and let's do something else with it where we're going to make a difference. And on the case management programs, here's what I'd suggest you do. Real practical advice. So get a list of the people that are in the case management programs and get a little rundown on what they're doing for the case management people. And then ask for a list of your top 10 claimants and what they're being treated for and how much are being spent. Match the two lists together. See if any of your top 10 claimants are really in that list and if they're making a difference. That's a good starting point. Your next step, I would encourage, this takes a little more time and effort, but set up a quarterly call process with your health plan in which you're going through the top 10 active claimants and have the case manager write up the notes in advance and participate in the call. And just talk through these calls with the case managers to find out what's going on. One of the things that I find is generally that they're unable to reach the patient. We tried, we couldn't, Lots of times they don't have the right phone number. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Well, why don't you tell us that you didn't have the right phone number? I'll tell you, the disability plan administrator has the right phone number. They never have trouble reaching people to get them paychecks. You know, so we can get you a right phone number. Or we called and they said they didn't need our help. Well, geez, we're spending $1 million on this person and they won't even talk to us. You know, maybe we need to make a change in our strategy here and how we're doing this. But you know, you'll get astounded at what you learn, and it'll cause you to take action that'll make a difference. And thank you. I can't even read that. I'm sorry. Tell me, Diane, how many minutes?
10.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, but I really encourage you. It's kind of like the same thing that many employers do with workers' comp type cases. You know, sit down and review these in detail. And if nothing else happens, your health plan will pay more attention to your high-cost claimants. But that's where you're spending your money. That tends to be where you're driving trend. And I would say the next thing is, if you don't know about your specialty drug spend, start diving in now. Because even if your health plan is running at a fairly low single-digit trend line, I venture to say that your specialty drugs are climbing like a rocket. I looked at one of our clients we do the scorecard for, and a little breakout we showed was that they had gone from 22% of prescription drug spend with specialty drugs back in 2010, and it had just steadily ticked up. It was at 46% year to date in 2016, which is a massive increase. And that doesn't even show you what's happening in the medical plan. You know, what we have found is that the medical plan is probably where even the more significant savings are in specialty drugs. And oftentimes you just can't get clean data from your health plan. But I'm not talking about just pricing kind of information. You've got site of care issues, you've got the manufacturer's assistance programs, you've got duplicate claims being paid on specialty drugs, you know, at an alarming rate. You've got, you're paying for dosage amounts that are far above what's recommended for the weights of the individuals. You've got off-label drug use. You've got all kinds of things that are going on here. This is the hottest area of your plan, and I really suggest you find out what's going on. We generally find that the savings opportunity in here is over 30% on the medical side and 15 to 25% on the PBM side. So these are big dollars. And the way healthcare is changing, I think this really becomes the issue you got to jump on. And then the final thing you can do is really to, excuse me, maybe step out of the box a little bit further even than the things we've talked about. I mentioned earlier that if you really look at your data to see what's driving your costs, you'll tend to find that the top 5% of your claimants are incurring much greater costs year to year. And you know, if you're smaller, it's likely to be bouncing around more. But if you smooth out the trend lines, you find that what's driving trend is really not the bottom 95%, it's the top 5%. The intensity of care and treatment that is coming into play for the top 5%ers is amazing. You know, specialty drugs is an example of that. Things like LVADs, which really didn't even exist long ago, are now becoming more and more commonplace and very expensive. But these things are what are driving plan trend. And you know, what we believe is unfortunately happening is a lot of people are kind of focusing on the day-to-day consumerism issues, and they're trying to get everybody to save $100 on their next image or you know, their next lab test or whatever, and make a little better decision on the day-to-day stuff. And there is waste down there, there's no doubt about it. But trying to get 100% of people to do something small like that is a lot more work than really just finding out, well, geez, these 25 people are the ones that are really driving our costs. How about if we get a third of them to go to the right place next time and to do the right thing? That's a lot easier work, and it has a much bigger impact. And I think getting them to the right place is part of the challenge. You may think the brands are the place to go, but if you really got to do detective work on these to find out how people practice medicine. And we're talking about folks that are patient-focused over education or research-focused. We're talking about people that are salary-based, work in teams, approach care in a very different way, because you don't want people to be treated with tremendous outcomes. You know, the surgery was very successful, but the person never needed it in the first place. Or, you know, we got an extra 10% discount, but it was an inappropriate surgery in the first place. You know, those are not victories. We need to get them, make sure that they get the right level of care. And can you pop this? It's not just pie. No, we want to go back to the video. See if that works. This isn't just pie in the sky. It's actually happening.
Activities is always part of our life. We've done marathons, we've done triathlons. But I do remember a particular race. I was really pushing hard on the triathlon, come out of the water, and immediately felt my back just was not right.
To think that something could go wrong and he would never even be able to walk again possibly just scared me.
The Centers of Excellence program is a very beneficial bundled payment program for travel medicine.
I take a patient from the moment that we get their referral. I take them all the way through the process of collecting their records, collecting their information, and then meeting them when they travel to Mercy and taking them through the entire evaluation process.
Everybody comes to the Center of Excellence program with their own story, and we need to hear that story in order to understand what it is they really want to accomplish.
I've had many setback surgeries, but this one was a pretty tough one, and all the doctors were great. They all had a unique concern for you as an individual. They got to know you personally and got to know your issue, just like you were a patient of theirs for years.
I really think the patient engagement is baked into how the program is arranged. The fact that you visit with so many different specialists during the day, I think really allows the patient to participate and ask a lot of questions.
The whole setup was great, and to sit there and think that Walmart came up with this program and Walmart said these are the best of the best of the best made me feel really good and helped calm my nerves a little bit.
You're not coming here to be told what you have to do. You're coming here to be an active participant in your own care.
You're getting the best care from top-notch surgeons. You're getting it in a very short amount of time. We get you here, we get you taken care of, we get you home.
The companies that have been involved in the Center of Excellence program are really some of the best thinkers in the country about where healthcare is headed.
For Walmart to step up and say they're going to take care of the associates in this way is just phenomenal.
Just knowing we're not going to get billed for any of it just made it that much easier on all of us. I just want to thank the company for offering this and helping us change our life.
Thank you. So Walmart started this program about 4 years ago, and they just announced this year that they took it from just waiving deductibles and coinsurance and making it voluntary to actually doing it as an in-network versus out-of-network on the spine surgery portion of it. They also do it for hearts and valves and for transplants and for knee replacements. But what's, as you can tell, these are people that went and they got world-class care, great outcomes, great service. What isn't communicated in there is that over 50% of the people that were referred into Mercy for spine surgery didn't need spine surgery. These were people that their local doctor told them they needed to get cut. And when they came there and had a multidisciplinary review, and that's a key issue, multidisciplinary review from a salary-based team where they don't care what the outcome is, they find that a lot of times putting titanium in their back is not going to solve the problem. So this is a big difference. We believe in it a lot, and we've actually teamed up with Tom Emmerich to build a secondary model of this, which I could talk to you about later if you'd like. But just to wrap things up, I recognize the challenge that, like you, I live in a 2-horse town or a Coke versus Pepsi town where you tend to believe we only have 2 choices. Our plan members tend to believe we only have 2 choices. And as long as we continue to operate thinking we only have 2 choices, we're going to be stuck in a very expensive box, and we're going to have substandard care for our plan members. We need to be able to think beyond that and take steps that are going to disrupt this 2-choice environment. And you may not be able to get everybody to drink the water, and that's kind of continuing the metaphor because, as we all know, water is healthier for us than either Coke or Pepsi. But you are going to be able to influence how many people do. And what you definitely want to do is influence those that are going to have the biggest impact. And if we've learned anything from this election, we have learned that people are more ready to change than we thought they were. People are more upset with the status quo than we thought they were. And I think the time is now for you to take action. And, you know, I think it's your choice. I think you sit in unique positions. You make a lot of decisions. You decide, you know, what benefits are we going to cover, who are we going to pay more for when they go this direction versus that direction. You've got a lot of design things. You control communication. You control the vendors you deal with. You know, a lot of these are your decisions. And I encourage you to take advantage of the position you have to make a difference in such a way that's going to improve the health of your plan members and the health of your organization. And thank you. If anybody wants to learn more about a couple of these topics, I'll be hanging around later on. Appreciate it. Thanks.